What's up, everyone? Christian Saez here on the DNVR Rockies podcast, and today we've got a very important show because it looks like the Rockies are going to be taking a step back in next year when it comes to payroll. And what does that mean for the chances of success as we move into the 2025 season? We're breaking that down all right here on the DNVR Rockies podcast. What's up, everyone? Live from the Toyota Lounge here in the DNVR bar. It is the DNVR Rockies podcast, and you see it right there on your screen. We're talking payroll today. We talked a little bit about payroll last week on the show because, you know, we're in this season right now of the year where we're talking about postseason teams, the Dodgers, the Mets, the Yankees, their payroll numbers bouncing around up in the air, and we're talking about, you know, whether or not the Rockies can compete with the payroll that they had last year and the year prior to that, and so on and so forth. And I will say, over the last few years, the Rockies have been a team that has not historically had a rock bottom payroll. They've been actually above 500 when it comes to where they rank amongst MLB teams in terms of payroll. But this year, things are going to look a little different, or this upcoming year, things are going to look a little different. I don't know if you guys saw this yet, but if you haven't, I want to push you ahead to an article from Denver Post writer Patrick Saunders, who broke the news a couple days ago about the Rockies looking like this next year is going to be a payroll decrease in what we saw from previous years. And there's a lot to unpack there because there's a lot of reasons why fans might think that, you know, a team is taking a step back from payroll. Is it because of attendance going down? Is it because ownership wanted to be stingy? Is it because of TV revenue? Whatever that looks like. And so we're going to get into that here in just a moment. But I think the biggest takeaway before we get into any of those other points, any of the other context behind all of this, the biggest takeaway to this is, what does that mean for the Rockies' chance to be successful? And I want to point you to Exhibit A this year, which is the Cleveland Guardians. The Cleveland Guardians came into this season with one of the lowest payrolls in all of baseball. They had the 24th ranked payroll in all baseball. They spent just around $129 million this year in payroll. And if you compare that to the teams they were going up against, the Dodgers, the Mets, the Yankees specifically, the team that bounced them out of the playoffs, all of those teams spent upwards of $300 million this year. So I want to preface on the back end of all of this that just because a team is taking payroll cuts does not mean there is not still an ability to put together a winning formula and a winning team. And I think the Rockies have pieces of that could allow them to be competitive. And you can build your own definition of what competitive looks like in your head. But I do think they have pieces to be competitive next year if they make the right moves in this offseason. So in the wrap up of this whole conversation, I'm going to be telling you guys or explaining what I think those pieces need to look like, what pieces might be what pieces might be moving around, to allow them to be competitive. But before we get into that, let's talk about the context of why are we going to be seeing a payroll decrease coming into this next season. And I said it, you know, people might be thinking that, like, well, maybe this has to do with fan, you know, attendance being down or, you know, ownership trying to be kind of stingy. And actually, what it comes down to is the TV revenue. So I don't know if you guys remember just a couple years ago, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but the Rockies actually had to, with the whole reconstruction of the regional sports networks, which is still happening, by the way, if you're seeing other teams like the Braves and Phillies and all those other root sports networks or regional sports networks are getting reorganized. But with the reorganization of the Rockies AT&T Sportsnet in 2022, that was switched over into an online streaming sense. And basically what that turned into was a Rockies.tv. Major League Baseball got the distribution rights, so they're distributing to all of the streaming sites. If you have MLB.tv, you can watch Rockies games on Rockies.tv. And it was a way for the Rockies to basically have their games broadcasted, but they didn't have much leverage in the negotiation process because the Rockies aren't a huge winning franchise. They're not a team like the Dodgers. They're not a team like the Braves, who's in the process of renegotiating their RSNs right now, where they've had 8 years of postseason appearances, and they have a higher leverage, a higher foot to stand on when it comes to that. The Rockies weren't in that same boat, so they had to kind of get consolidated into a streaming platform where fans could watch games through a streaming through a streaming organization. And last year, Rockies payroll, before it switched into a streaming distribution, was $171 million in the 2023 season. That ranked 14th across Major League Baseball. Now this year, using online streaming distributed by MLB, it looks like those streaming numbers and those viewing numbers are significantly down, which is going to lower payroll. And so payroll dropped this year to $147 million in 2024, which is 17th across Major League Baseball. Now, looking ahead to next year, it's going to probably be even less. You combine back-to-back 100-loss seasons. You have a team that has not won plus 500 games since 2018. A team that's had 6 consecutive losing seasons, and they haven't been particularly enjoyable to watch, even when they are playing well. Like I use, for example, the San Francisco Giants, a team that has not made it to the postseason in a couple of years, but they've been fun to watch for Giants fans. I don't know if you guys remember, a couple of years ago, the Giants had one of the best records in all of baseball, and somehow didn't get beyond a wild card game. The Rockies haven't even done that. So fans aren't really watching baseball that much, which I don't blame them. And so the revenue is going to take a hit from the other side of that. Now, payroll, I want to put out there and expel this myth right here, right now. Payroll is not tied to attendance. And if you've been paying attention over the last few years, Rockies attendance, although it has decreased over the last few years, it's still been one of the top attended events in Major League Baseball. In 2022, Rockies fans in Coors Field ranked 9th in all of MLB attendance with 34,000 fans per game, which is a sellout in some stadiums across Major League Baseball, by the way. In 2023, 2 years ago, it was 14th ranked across MLB, 32,000 fans per game, and then last year was a little bit of a dip to 31,000 fans per game in 2024. That was 15th. So the attendance isn't the issue. And you all know that, Coors Field isn't just a home for Rockies fans, that, you go play a series against the Dodgers and there's a lot of blue in the stands, and you go play against the Red Sox, there's a lot of red in the stands, whatever. But what that shows me is that this payroll decrease that we're going to see going into next year has a lot to do with the TV revenue side of things. And as Jim Wolverton says, having a crappier team will not make people want to watch. You're right. No one's going to be turning on the TV to watch mid-July baseball when there's no good baseball to be had. And baseball is a sport where every once in a while you get a fluke game. You get that series against the Red Sox, where you come out of nowhere, you have a 11-inning walk-off by Sam Hilliard and Ezekiel Tovar. You come back down 7 and have the biggest comeback win of the year. Like, those games are going to happen. But when you're losing more games than you're winning consistently, and you're losing them pretty bad, and your pitching sucks, your hitters are striking out at a historic clip, fans aren't going to want to watch. So the TV revenue is not going to get solved anytime soon. So unfortunately for the Rockies, I don't see this being an issue that's going to go away anytime soon. Even if you come back next year and the Rockies are a competitive team, let's say a 500 team, which, God, that would be nice. I don't believe that the TV revenue, given where they're in the state that they're in right now, is going to jump back in record time. So the Rockies have to be willing to find ways to win with the lineup and the roster that they have right now. So how do they do that? Well, it's not going to be easy, and you guys know that. And I said this in one of my articles that I put out last week on Saturday. You know, Rockies fans don't need me to tell you that the team has sucked. You don't need me to tell you that the guys on the field that you might get value from haven't been getting you a lot of value. And we saw that during the trade deadline. You got, some subpar trades. You actually got a decent trade getting, Blaylock from Mears. He could be a good guy, but you were lucky in that. So where do the Rockies go in this offseason? And I've talked about it a little bit here, on this podcast of what does it look like for the Rockies to be competent in this offseason? Well, it looks like, according to, again, Patrick Saunders, who had a great article on this, it looks like the Rockies have 3 players in particular that they are vying towards moving this offseason. Cal Quantrill, Austin Gomber, and Brendan Rodgers. All 3 of those players are free agents after this next season. So this is the year where you'd want to get some value out of those guys before they become free agents and can walk for pretty much nothing. So how much money are you actually going to save if you can offload those 3 contracts? And I want to remind folks that you're getting around $13 million by Charlie Blackmon retiring, which helps. But combined in those 3 players, if you can find a way to offload Cal Quantrill, Austin Gomber, and Brendan Rodgers, you're going to save yourself around $18 million. Now, that is enough to go and sign a mid to high level, end of their career veteran hitter. And I want to talk about why it's going to be a hitter here in just a moment. But that is enough to get a competent hitter in your lineup that's consistent and can put up good at-bats and can be a shining veteran in a lineup that has a lot of youth, a lot of young guys. So why exactly are the Rockies going to be looking at getting a hitter and not pitchers? Because I know we've talked about it in the past. I did a show last week talking about hitters or pitchers. Which way do the Rockies go in this offseason? We had Just Baseball writer Kevin Henry on the show to break that down, and we both kind of agreed on that you've got to get hitters because your pitching staff, there's a lot of questions. They've struggled in the past. We all know that Rockies pitchers have not been historically good, but your hitters were historically bad. And here's why I think the Rockies are making a step towards approaching a veteran bat in this offseason over veteran pitching. You've got young arms in the system that you're banking on. You've got guys right now in the minors that you're banking on as being able to pick up value when they get to a point where they can actually compete at the big league level. You've got Sean Sullivan, Palmquist, and Chase Dollander, all pretty much waiting for their shot at the big league level. So if you can offload some of this money from mostly pitching, Cal Quantrill and Austin Gomber, you're assuming that Chase Dollander, Sean Sullivan, and Carson Palmquist are going to be in a Rockies uniform probably within the next year. So you're pretty much betting that those guys are going to show up ready to go and hoping that they're going to be legit. Now, and I know Rockies front office has said that 2026 is kind of the window that they're looking at for a competitive team. But you're banking on that being those guys and more being successful in your starting rotation. So you need to shift your mindset into the Rockies need a veteran hitter that can go out, get consistent at-bats, maybe put some power out there, but more importantly, get you an average that can last throughout a season. Get on base, be a veteran bat that holds down your very young lineup. Because there's going to be a lot of growing pains next year. You still got Michael Toglia, Hunter Goodman. We don't really know what's going to happen with Goodman and Drew Romo, your catching rotation. Stallings was a good catcher, and a good a good bat for the few times that he was hitting out there, but he's not part of your full rebuild throughout the rest of your, the next 3 to 4 years. And we're going to talk about him in a moment. So you need a veteran hitter that can come in, get a good, get some good, good at-bats and balance out some of the growing pains that we're going to see from this young core. I was looking through some of the free agents that are available right now across Major League Baseball that are going to be available this offseason. There's some pretty interesting names. Anthony Rizzo is going to be one of them. Vlad Guerrero Jr., not a veteran, but that could be a huge bat that the Rockies could pursue this offseason. So we're gonna on a different show, we're gonna talk about what free agents they could be looking to acquire. But it is going to be interesting to see how they approach that, and if they want to tackle that from a hitter or a pitcher standpoint. And I think from what it looks like, the Rockies are going to be attacking this offseason from a pitching standpoint. When we come back, though, I want to talk about the outfield, because the Rockies did make some actual moves this last weekend. They pretty much let go of a couple players, for lack of a better way of putting it, and committed to a specific outlook for the outfield in this next year. And we're going to break that down here in just a moment. But before we do, got to give some love to our friends over at UC Health, because at UC Health, they want you right now to start living your healthiest lives. And Coach Prime, who's living it up right now out in Boulder, just got a big win out in Arizona. He's your UC Health RSC ambassador right now. That's the Ready Set Co initiative ambassador. Coach Prime wants to help you live your healthiest life by combining nutrition, exercise, and sleep, and making some little changes that help you live your healthiest life. So if you head over to uchealth.org/ReadySetCo, Coach Prime breaks it all down there. And I know for me specifically, I've been trying to get up early. The weather's been garbage these last couple days, and I've loved it because it feels like fall for the first time. Pumpkin spice latte season is back for all of those who observe. Not me. That's not my forte, but for all the other ones out there that enjoy that's the vibe that they're going for right now. For me, fall weather just means a chance for me to get up a little earlier and get some work done before the sun comes up. I always feel more productive when I get to the gym when it's still dark outside. So whatever it is, whatever your thing is, whether it's eating well, getting some good sleep, or exercising, UC Health wants to help you make the most out of that with their Ready Set Co initiative. So if you want to join UC Health Ready Set Co Challenge, click the link in the show notes of this podcast. Go to uchealth.org/ReadySetCo, spelled CO like Colorado. Also got to share some love to our friends over at Toyota. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. I was actually out of town for the weekend. I was in Missoula watching some Montana hockey. Montana playing Boise State. Got a buddy who plays hockey out in Missoula. And I got a rental car out there, and they put me up in the nice little Toyota Corolla, which I have never driven. I've driven almost all the other makes and models of the Toyota car because I love Toyotas and I've had Toyotas my entire life. Never driven a Toyota Corolla. And it was funny because, I lean more towards the SUV vehicle when it comes to Toyota. I am a big SUV guy. I drive an old 2007 Toyota Highlander right now. The next car I'm going to get is either going to be a truck or a RAV4. Though both the Tacoma or the RAV4 or even the 4Runner are incredible options. But I got to drive the Corolla, and man, that's a fun little car. A little mid-sized sedan, just has some giddy up on it. It's kind of a slept on option. And look, Toyota, it ranges. You can go from the high-end 4Runner or Tacoma, some of the bigger, beefier Toyotas that we love to see here in Colorado. But, the prices get a little higher when you're going towards those cars. Still very affordable. They're incredible cars. But if you're looking for something more manageable for, maybe a family car or something like that, the Corolla was incredible. It's got 4 seats. You could put a car seat in the back. It can be, definitely in the family price range. It was an incredible car. I truly enjoyed getting to drive the Corolla for the first time out in Missoula, Montana, this weekend. And so, but whatever you're into, whether you're into the bigger cars, littler cars, Toyota has you covered. Hybrids too. They've got you all covered. So visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. That's AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson's Toyota East in Aurora, Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. All right, this weekend, Rockies shed an outfielder. Jake Cave is now officially a free agent, which, as a fan of the caveman, the man of the people, I'm a little bummed. A business side of me says I get it, because one of those two outfielders, Sam Hilliard or Jake Cave, needed to go. But I'm bummed, man. Jake Cave was a fun guy. He had some big moments with the Rockies. If you guys remember, he went 5 for 5 against the World Series bound New York Yankees in New York. Almost had himself a cycle against the Yankees. His former team, Jake Cave, used to play for the Yankees. He had some incredible catches out there in the outfield. Some of the best interviews in the locker room, in the clubhouse. Jake Cave also, and this is something that, if you get to Rockies games early enough, you'll know what I'm talking about. Rockies players have this thing where they all, the outfielders all, and sometimes the infielders will bunch up around the first baseline, and they'll all take a ball, and they'll take turns throwing the ball towards the foul pole and see who can hit the foul pole first. And Jake Cave and Nolan Jones always were like the first guys to hit the foul pole, and that's a pretty good throw. I mean, I'm talking from first base to the right field foul pole, and to see who can hit the ball, hit the foul pole in the air. Jake Cave was always a stud when it came to that. So we're gonna miss Jake Cave. I'm gonna miss him in the locker room, in the clubhouse. With good interviews, good energy, good vibes. He was a good vibes guy. But the business analysis side of it says that was the right move. Sam Hilliard had better moments, I think, from a playing perspective for the Rockies than Jake Cave did. He's your veteran lefty. He's got some big pop. He can let the ball fly out there, and he's a good versatile outfielder as well. But I think the biggest factor for Sam Hilliard's game is that he had some big moments with the Rockies this year. I mean, that Boston series, I was talking about it. He came in, you're down 2 runs going into the bottom of the 9th inning, and he gets up there in a pinch hit situation, and he rips a 2-run home run to tie it, and the Rockies ended up winning that game in extra innings. I think in the 11th inning, Tovar knocked in like a double or something like that, or maybe it was Doyle. But we saw time and time again, Sam Hilliard would show up and get a hit when it mattered. And I think although the same age, I think they're like a couple months apart, him and Cave, he played with a little more youth. And I say that from a physical standpoint. Jake Cave was a strong, athletic guy, but Sam Hilliard came out there and he had a very Ken Griffey Jr.-esque play to him, a Ken Griffey Jr.-esque style to him, and I'm not saying that he's similar to Ken Griffey Jr. In his success and consistency at all, but he had that vibe, he played a strong competitive level of baseball, and he was a little more consistent. And I think he has higher upside. I think if Sam Hilliard gets hot next year, he could be a really good, kind of rotating right fielder or left fielder for you out there, depending on how Nolan Jones is doing, or if you see the Rockies end up bringing up, another outfielder from the minors. You got Zach Veen, Yanquiel Fernandez, guys that are pretty much chomping at the bit to get to that big league level. And look, it's an all hands on deck next year. Next year is the buffer year where, yes, we need to see improvement from the Rockies, but we also are still allowing that grace period to say we're giving you that reconstruction year. We're still in that reconstruction phase, and so if you have a situation where you're calling up guys a little earlier than they would normally come up, maybe they're not having the success that, is winning you consistent ball games, but you're getting them the reps that they need to get ready for 2026. I think we're going to see that. And I think there's going to be a big push to dive as headfirst into that youth movement as physically possible. Sam Hilliard, I think he's going to be a good guy out there to have in the outfield. Also a veteran, who's had some playing time under his belt. And so he'll be good to have out there in the outfield. And the Rockies are committing to him. Dakota Hudson, he's entering free agency this year, opting into free agency instead of going into a minor league assignment. Not a huge surprise there. So couple free agents that the Rockies kind of let go out of their roster. They currently have a 38-man roster looking for the 40. They've got 2 guys on the 60-day IL that will make up that 40-man roster. Let's talk about the catcher for a moment, because this is part of this whole payroll situation right now. You offloaded some payroll by getting rid of Elias Diaz, which was a necessary move last year. You know, Diaz was picked up by the Padres, got some playing time actually in the postseason. But now you're in a position where you've got to figure out what to do with Stallings, because I think Stallings is going to be your catcher next year to start, while we figure out what Goodman and Romo do in the development side. Stallings hit .263 last year in his limited playing time. He had 9 home runs. He had an .810 OPS. He played really well, actually remarkably well, for the limited time that he got out there on the field. He calls a good game behind the plate. Stallings is a great catcher in the context that the Rockies need him to be. Is he going to be your franchise catcher? Absolutely not. But is he going to be a guy that starts behind the plate for the Rockies next year? I think he is. I think Stallings is going to be that guy next year that starts initially for the Rockies and then becomes a rotational piece, depending on what Goodman and Romo do. And here's the issue with Goodman and Romo. Goodman has the bat that Romo needs. Romo has the defense as a catcher that Goodman needs. Both those guys are lacking one side of their game, either the offense or the defense. So the Rockies need to figure out who's going to put it together first. Is Romo going to figure out his bat at the big league level first? Because we know Romo's an incredible catcher, one of the best rookie prospect catchers in baseball from a logistics standpoint. Or is it going to be Hunter Goodman, who we've seen has an incredible bat and can win you games with his bat, but doesn't really have the defense to hold up against a good base running team? So the Rockies are in a position right now where they're trying to figure out, how do we build this rotation behind the plate? And I actually really think we're going to see a revolving door in the catcher spot. I think we're going to see a lot of what we saw in September, where, yeah, Stallings is probably going to start out behind the dish the first week or so, but then they're gonna be moving Drew Romo and Hunter Goodman back there every few games, depending on who's feeling hot. And they're gonna give him the Michael Toglia treatment, where they're gonna say, we're gonna give you a shot, and if you don't prove it to us within a couple games, then we're gonna give another guy a shot. And they're going to have a couple games to prove it, and then we're going to give another guy a shot. And we're just going to keep going in circles until finally someone finds the rhythm. And we saw that with Toglia. Like Toglia, they kind of started putting him in the DH spot, then they gave him some shots at first, and then he kind of found his groove, and they were like, all right, first is yours until you show us that you don't have it. And Toglia never backed down. And now Toglia is the checked box first baseman on this team. I think we're going to see that out of the catching spot for the Rockies this upcoming year. But I do think Stallings is going to be your guy. Now, the interesting part about the money side of it, as we're talking about payroll, Stallings does have a $2 million option for 2025, but because he had a improved season than what we expected, I think he's going to renegotiate. So he'll actually probably get a little bit more money than that $2 million in that option for 2025. Now, I think the Rockies are going to try to limit that, but who knows? You don't have another catcher to back you up, so Stallings has the leverage. I mean, you have other catchers, but not a guy that's going to, that you can sell to a fan base consistently yet. So Stallings might take up a little bit of a penny out there behind the dish, at least to start for the Rockies. Real quick, going to take a break. And that's gonna wrap things up for our Rockies conversations for today, though. Although later this week we're gonna get back into some more Rockies stuff. But after this break, we're gonna recap the Guardians and Yankees, how the Yankees got to the World Series, and whether or not we believe Juan Soto is worth $700 million. Do you think Juan Soto is worth $700 million? I don't know. We're gonna talk about it in just a moment. But before we do, got to give some love to our friends over at Coors Light. Because Coors Light is truly the most cold, refreshing light beer out there. Again, I'm going back to my story time. I was in Missoula this weekend. I went to a nice little cowboy bar out there and had to get myself some Coors Light. And I was actually watching the game. I was watching the Yankees-Dodgers game. Actually, no, I was watching the Yankees-Guardians game. That's what I was going at. And I was sitting in there with a couple other guys and some just random Montana cowboys and cowgirls and yeah, I mean we were all sharing some Coors Lights. It was solid. It felt like the mountain vibes all over again. Just in a different state. And so the vibes were good, as it always is when you drink Coors Light. Coors Light is truly the most refreshing light beer. Pair it with baseball, pair it with a tailgate, pair it with a pregame watch party, whatever it is. Coors Light has you covered. But even if you're not enjoying sports, Coors Light, they go well, whether you're just sitting out on your porch enjoying these last few days of fall, or just hanging out at a nice restaurant or a sports bar, whatever it is, Coors Light has you covered. So make the most out of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, based in our backyard here in Golden, Colorado. Also got to give some love to our friends over at Shady Rays, because Shady Rays is truly the best, and I mean the best when it comes to sunglasses. They're affordable, they're efficient, they're effective, they are durable, they have you covered, they're stylish. How many adjectives can I throw out there before you understand that Shady Rays is truly the best? And fishing season's wrapping up for me, or at least fall fishing season's wrapping up for me. I was in Montana, didn't get to fish in Montana this weekend, but I went to some pretty beautiful fishing spots, and I always have my Shady Rays with me. And there were some spots where I could still, fish haven't sunk all the way down to the depths yet. I could still see the fish hanging out there at the top, catching the last few flies of fall, and I really wish that I had my fishing rod with me, some fly rods out there. But whatever you're into, whether it's fishing like me, the outdoors, sports, or even just just looking good when you're going out into town, Shady Rays is the perfect fit because they have so many options. They've got the stylish glasses that my wife Marissa likes to wear when she's going downtown with friends, and then they've also got the athletic and sportsman's glasses that that I enjoy wearing as well, the polarized glasses. Whatever you're into, Shady Rays has you covered. So exclusively for our listeners, right now, you got to get involved in the deal that we have with Shady Rays. They're giving out their best deal of the season. Head to ShadyRays.com using code DNVR for 35% off all polarized glasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. All right, let's get right back into it. Guardians went toe-to-toe with the big boys, the Yankees, and they fell short. Now, look, I want to give credit where credit is due. I try to be a show where I give the underdog some love. Because, let's face it, we are the underdogs in almost every aspect of our lives, of our fandom here as Rockies fans. And the Guardians, as I said, went toe-to-toe with the big boys. A $129 million payroll, number 24 ranked payroll in MLB, went neck and neck with the number 3 ranked payroll in Major League Baseball. The Yankees, $320 million that the Yankees spent to beat the Guardians. And look, there were some ups and downs of that series. The Guardians looked bad in moments, but they also looked really good. And the Guardians, they went down swinging. I had said it last week, I was like, look, the baseball fan, not even fan, the baseball lover in me, and I'm speaking of the game itself, didn't really want a Mets-Guardians World Series just because, I know those are, that wouldn't have been as exciting of a series from a juggernaut standpoint, but you always love a good underdog story. And the Guardians were our underdog story of this postseason, and they got bounced by Juan Soto, who had the biggest swing of his life for the Yankees, a 2-run big fly to give the Yankees the lead. Now, here's the question that comes up, because this is immediately, everyone's emotional on Twitter and social media, freaking out, saying, oh my God, Juan Soto, he's going to have the next $700 million contract. And, they interviewed Steinbrenner and after the game, and he was like calculating Juan Soto's contract on live television, and you're just like, what is going on? People were throwing out there, Jazz Chisholm especially, throwing out there that Juan Soto is going to be worth $700 million, that he is going to garner $700 million in this offseason when he gets re-signed by the Yankees or by anyone. Let's put that out there. I mean, he's a free agent. Anyone, the Dodgers. The Dodgers could sign Juan Soto for $700 million, and I would not put it past them. But the question to me is Juan Soto worth $700 million? My answer is hell no. Are you kidding me? Shohei Ohtani set the standard. He set the market space to be a $700 million player. But I'm gonna explain in just a moment why Shohei Ohtani is worth $700 million and Juan Soto is not. Juan Soto is a great player. Do not get me wrong. He is worth $500 million. He is going to be the next big contract, I would argue, in Major League Baseball, like the biggest contract, in Major League Baseball after Shohei Ohtani. But when you start getting close to, when you start tickling $1 billion, I start to go beyond the stats. Because, again, Juan Soto's an incredible player. And he shows up when it matters for the Yankees. He's getting your team to a World Series. He's had some of the biggest at-bats in Yankees history. In Yankees' recent history, I should say. But is he captivating a game in the way that Shohei Ohtani has done? I don't think he is. Is he selling out opposing team stadiums of fans coming just to see Juan Soto? No, he is not. When the Yankees play the Colorado Rockies in Colorado at Coors Field, are baseball fans alike storming Coors Field with Juan Soto jerseys in a frenzy for a chance to see the great Juan Soto play? No, not to the level they are with Shohei Ohtani. So, is Juan Soto worth $700 million? No. Is he worth a lot of money? Absolutely. And did he make himself about $500+ million on that swing? Yes, he did. If I had to guess right now what he's probably going to make, he's probably going to get close to around $600 million. He's going to be more than $500 million because he's got your team to a World Series and it's the Yankees, and the Yankees are a-holes. But beyond that, he is not going to get $700 million. So the flip side of that is Shohei Ohtani actually worth $700 million? And my answer to that is a wholehearted yes. I actually think $700 million has been a steal for the Dodgers. Why? Well, let's look at the numbers. The Dodgers are first in attendance across Major League Baseball. First in jersey sales. No surprise there. They made $30 million in ad revenue this year. Talk about a down payroll for the Rockies based on TV revenue. Well, if you signed Shohei Ohtani for $700 million, your TV revenue would have looked a heck of a lot different. The Dodgers are up $30 million in ad revenue. You've added an entire country of fans to your fan base now. The entire country of Japan are diehard Dodgers fans now. 100%, no questions. I don't have the numbers in front of me, and I should have pulled this up. Japan averaged like 12 million viewers for the NLCS game, for one of the NLCS game one. It was something like that, 12 million viewers. America, the United States, averaged 8 million, which was the most Major League Baseball had seen in America since like 2021 or something like that. And Japan said, you know what, we'll almost double that. So that was huge. Japanese brands bought ad space in other stadiums during Dodgers away games. That's how unreal the Shohei Ohtani effect is for Major League Baseball, for the Dodgers. So the Dodgers got a steal by getting Shohei Ohtani for $700 million. And let's remember, they haven't even paid him for that yet. They deferred 90% of his salary until he retires. The Dodgers are paying him like, what, $8 million a year, $10 million a year, something like that? Not much. Not much. So it's just crazy to me that people are comparing Juan Soto to Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani is the Michael Jordan of baseball right now. We've never seen anything like it. When I was covering the Dodgers and Rockies series for the first time in my, career as a Rockies, beat reporter, and I was in the Coors Field press box this year in the last series of the season, I kid you not, it was like the World Series. It was like if the Rockies made it to the World Series. The press box, I was having to text our press box manager 5 hours before the game saying, hey, I'm on my way. Please make sure my spot is still open. Because people were losing their seats. Because there was so many media members from the Dodger fan base or from the Dodger, media train, Japanese media, LA media, like Major League Baseball media, whatever, Hall of Fame media, like everyone was there. I mean, our seats were like, I didn't have any elbow room because we were all just shoved up against each other. And actually, it was kind of cool. I sat next to a really nice lady. The lady I was sitting next to, she was obviously a huge fan of Shohei Ohtani, and her husband was Shohei Ohtani's high school baseball coach, which is wild to me. And she was like sharing all these like crazy stories of like when Shohei was a kid and like how like their families were like friends, and she's talking to me. And she's like, oh, hey, real quick. She like pats me on the shoulder. She's like, hey, real quick, just a heads up. Your pitcher, who is it? Senzatella. Your pitcher has a tell when he throws. When Shohei gets on base, Shohei told me this, and this is her talking. Shohei told me this before the game. When Senzatella comes set, he picks his foot up one more time, and before he fully comes set, when he's going to pitch when he's going to go to home. When he's going to pick off, he only comes set once. And so Shohei's looking for that. And she said that to me, and I'm like, no way. Like, there's no way. Like, the Rockies would have noticed that. I kid you not. And if you remember, if you watch those games, Shohei Ohtani stole second before Senzatella even started his motion home. He was at second base before Jacob Stallings even caught the ball. And I literally looked at her like, oh my God. Like you first of all, why are you telling me this? I'm going to go talk to Senzatella after the game in 2 hours, and we're going to ask him about that. Why are you sharing this industry secret with me? But it was that kind of thing where I'm just like, what a wild environment for Dodgers fans, for Major League Baseball fans. Shohei Ohtani is one of a kind. Juan Soto is not Shohei Ohtani. So I had to throw that out there. I came across this hypothetical question, though, going back to the Yankees. I came across this hypothetical question for Yankees fans. And it was a would you rather question. I thought it was actually a good, pretty challenging question for Yankees fans, and I was shocked by the answers. The question was, if you're a Yankees fan, would you rather the Yankees win the World Series, but Soto re-signs with the Mets or signs with the Mets? So you win the World Series this year, but your biggest player, Juan Soto, goes out and signs with your Subway Series nemesis, the New York Mets. Or would you rather lose the World Series, but you re-sign Juan Soto? And they did it in a poll. And there was something like 800 votes. It was a pretty good poll. And I'll tell you my answer here in just a moment. That wasn't the poll yet. This is a different poll. I'll tell you my answer in just a moment. But the crazy thing is, 30% of Yankees fans said they would rather lose the World Series if it meant they could re-sign Juan Soto. What are we talking about? You're telling me in a year where Juan Soto is on your team right now and has gotten you to the World Series, Yankees fans would, in a hypothetical would-you-rather situation, would rather lose the World Series this year for a hypothetical chance that they could get Juan Soto next year? You've got to be out of your mind. I feel like Stephen A. Smith right now. You got to be out of your damn mind if you think that is the way that this is supposed to go. If I had that question asked to me, if Juan Soto was on the Rockies and the Rockies were in the Yankees position right now, yeah, Will Carpenter, always take the title. Duh. Like, yes, 100%. If it's the Rockies and Juan Soto's on the Rockies and the Rockies are going to the World Series this year and you ask me that question, are you freaking kidding me? I'm like, I don't care if the Rockies go 10 years without a World Series after this. Like, win the World Series. I don't care if look at the Rangers. I don't care if the Rockies turn into the Texas Rangers, where they don't even come close to the postseason next year. If you give me a World Series, I will be eternally grateful. When the Seattle Seahawks, and I say this because I, spent time living in Seattle, and so I got a lot of Seattle friends. When the Seattle Seahawks when they got rid of Russell Wilson and he came to the Broncos, and Seahawks fans were like pissed at Russell Wilson and like hating on Russell Wilson. And I'm like, dude, he won you a Super Bowl. Like you at that point, you win me a championship, you are forever on my in my graces. I don't care what you do after that. You win me a championship. I will defend you to a degree for eternity if you get me a World Series. So that was just stupid. Anyways, I just had to go in there for a moment and hate on Yankees fans. It is officially Dodgers Hate Week, by the way, here on the show. I don't know if you guys are fully aware of how much I hate the Dodgers and the vitriol that I feel towards the Dodgers in my heart of hearts. So we spent our time, we did our due diligence. We talked about the Rockies, we talked about the Yankees, we talked about all of that. Coming back from break, we're going to talk about the Dodgers and how much we hate the Dodgers. But before we do that, got to give some love to some of the other events that are going on right now, because we've got some big events this week across the DNVR platforms. We got a huge takeover. Buffs takeover. The CU Buffaloes. You're one win away from a bowl game, CU Buffaloes. Or as Mark Johnson, the radio play-by-play guy, would say, the Colorado Buffaloes are one win away from a bowl game. And they've got to take over on Saturday. We got to take over here. It starts here at the bar. If you get tickets, and it's an incredible vibe, by the way. If you haven't been a part of takeovers at DNVR, this is the way you could start. Even if you're not a huge Buffs fan, like unless you're a CSU Ram fan, like anyone else, if you're just a lover of college football, you got to do this. Your ticket includes parking, tailgate entry, game tickets, which are not cheap, by the way, if you've looked. Food, drinks, you pregame at the bar, you hang out with a lot of great people. It's truly incredible. $210 is the ticket, which is the ticket. But again, I just explained all of the amenities that come along with that. And if you look online, we were looking at this before the show. It's about $30 cheaper than the average ticket, and that includes all of that stuff. So check that out. Head over to thednvr.com/events. Buffs takeover on Saturday. Also got a Broncos tailgate on Sunday. Some big football. This is the first time in forever, it feels like. I don't know the official stat. We posted it on DNVR Sports. First time that all of the major football teams in Colorado have a winning record. CSU, CU, and the Broncos, all winning records. Air Force not mixed into there, but CSU did just get a nice win over the Falcons. But yeah, so football teams riding high right now in Denver, and the Broncos, they've got a good game against the Panthers on Sunday. Again, check out our tailgate information at thednvr.com/events. Well, we're talking about buying tickets. Game Time. Got to give some love to our buddies over at Game Time, because there has never been a better time to be a fan than right now. And we're going to talk in just a moment about how expensive it is to buy tickets across any sport, especially baseball right now. But if you've got Game Time, it makes it so much easier and probably more affordable to get tickets. If you want to go to the World Series between the Yankees and the Dodgers, it's going to be expensive. But Game Time, they make it easier. They make it cheaper. They make it more enjoyable to get tickets. They've got this thing called Game Time Picks. It allows you to filter through all the fluff. You get rid of all of the hoopla that comes along with buying tickets on any other site, and you get straight to the point, exactly what you want. You say where you want to sit. You get a view of what that looks like when you sit, a 360 panoramic view of what your view is going to be from the seat, and then you get right into buying the ticket. As you get closer to the games, tickets get cheaper. That's the greatest part of Game Time. My cousin, she's in the marching band at the University of Washington, but she also goes to a lot of their games and all of that kind of stuff outside of just their football games that she works. And she's always like, man, I'm literally like 10 minutes before a game. She's like, I'm just pulling up the Game Time app and I'm just, getting tickets. Like that's just the way you do it. Everyone knows. So if you don't, already know you're missing out. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Get the Game Time app. Create an account. You can use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DNVR for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. All right, we got to talk World Series because I'm torn. I'm going to say this now. I'm torn on how I feel about this World Series. On one hand, I think this could be actually an incredible baseball series. I think it could be. These are two teams that are very evenly matched. The Dodgers they're scoring the most runs by any team in this postseason. The Yankees are a team that can hit home runs like nobody else. Both teams' pitching is, Dodgers less so, but, Yankees have pretty decent pitching. Garrett Cole, starting game one. But the Dodgers' bullpen is incredible. Their closer is incredible. Like, this could be a great matchup on paper. On the other hand, I feel like I'm going to gouge my eyes out watching the Yankees and the Dodgers slap each other to death on national television. I felt like vomiting last night. And I have to, by process of elimination, I have to root for the Yankees in this World Series because the Dodgers make me want to gag. Have you seen that TikTok or meme or what? It's not a meme, but like that video that was like circulating a while ago where that like girl was like talking about, she was like out drinking with friends and she was like talking about drinking. She's like, I just had some tequila, and she couldn't get the word tequila out without like vomiting. That's how I feel when I talk about the Dodgers. I feel like I'm gonna throw up. That's a little dramatic, but look, I have been a Dodger hater my entire life. I grew up in a Giants household, families from the Bay Area. So I was raised in a family that despises and hates the Los Angeles Dodgers. We had signs in my house that said FLA. I had Dodger hate weeks whenever the Giants would play the Dodgers. And then I moved to Colorado and I adopted the Rockies. And one of the greatest parts of adopting the Rockies is the fact that I get to continue my hatred for the Dodgers. Like, yeah, we don't like the Yankees, but I'm not like, we don't have, like, they're not like in our division. They're not even in our, they're not even in our conference. They're not even on our coast. Literally, they're not even in our coast. So it's going to be a hard series for me to watch. I know Rob Manfred is sitting up in his ivory tower, just loving life right now because the ratings are going to be insane. You've got the entire country of Japan watching. You've got the biggest fan base in LA and the biggest fan base on the East Coast in New York watching this game. But what's the rest of the world going to be doing? What are Rockies fans going to be doing? How are Rockies fans going to be enjoying or not enjoying this World Series? So I posted that question on Twitter last night. I posted the poll of who are Rockies fans rooting for. Now, I preface this because there were a ton of comments. I didn't take a screenshot of the comments. You can put it up on the screen now. I'm not showing any of the comments. There were a lot of comments of like, I'm not watching. And I understand. I respect that. I'm going to watch, not just because it's my job, but also because I think it could be a really good series of just teams that I hate, beating each other up. I'm pleased to see that the majority of Rockies fans said Yankees, that they'll be rooting for the Yankees. For the 27% of you who said Dodgers, you better have a damn good reason that you are considering yourself a Rockies fan and rooting for the Dodgers. Like, what is an acceptable excuse for a Rockies fan to root for the Dodgers right now? Like, I get it. Rockies aren't in the postseason. So you have to, if you're going to watch the games, you've got to take a side. I tweeted last night that I hope both teams lose. But, for realistic purposes, you've got to take a side. So what's an acceptable excuse for you to be a Rockies fan and say that you are rooting for the Dodgers in this postseason? The most common excuse I was getting was that they were saying, oh, you've got to support your division team. They're in the NL West. You've got to give them you've got to root for the NL West team. No. No. That's not how this works. Just because they're in our division, I would actually argue the opposite. I would root against the Dodgers. The Dodgers are our number one rival in our division. Why would I ever want them to succeed because they're in our division? Like, yeah, we're Rockies fans. We don't have like a team in the race. So I want the team that's farthest from the Rockies to win. And that's the Yankees. So that's not a good excuse. I was getting some other examples of people saying, oh, my wife is a Dodger fan. I do not care if your wife is a Dodger fan. If your wife's a Dodger fan, she can lock herself in another room and watch the game by herself. She can enjoy the whatever experience Dodger fans feel by herself. You're not during baseball season, especially postseason, we're not together. You're not a thing. You're separate. You're not. If my wife was a Dodger fan, if Marissa was a Dodger fan, we're not married in the postseason. When the Dodgers play the Rockies, you're sitting in a different section of the stadium than me. You're sleeping on the couch if the Dodgers win. So that's not an excuse. I think the only legitimate excuse for a Rockies fan to say that they are rooting for the Dodgers is if you are a parent of someone who of someone who plays on the Dodgers. If you have a child who plays professional baseball for the Los Angeles Dodgers, you are exempt. You can be a Rockies fan and root for the Dodgers because your child plays for the Dodgers. To my understanding, that is not the case. There is not a single Colorado Rockies fan parent whose child plays for the Dodgers. So barring that reason, I don't want to see a single Rockies fan trying to come at me saying that they are rooting for the Dodgers in this postseason, in this World Series. You can miss me with that take because we aren't having any of that on this show. Dodgers Hate Week begins today. We were talking about the ticket prices real quick before we do finish with a little segment. Cheapest ticket to attend Game 1, $915. Most expensive ticket, $35,000. Break out the bank accounts because you're paying a pretty penny if you want to go to one of these games. All right, we're running out of time. I got one segment that I want to do here. It's a new segment that we're doing on the show called Storytime with Saez, where we get a little nice and cozy here on this fall Monday afternoon. And basically what this is I read a chapter of the article that I just published this week, and then give you some breakdown on that chapter, and then hopefully you guys go and read the article in full. So let's settle in and get into it. This is Storytime with Saez. All right. Chapter 1, and my article is titled 4 Reasons Rockies Fans Can Be Optimistic About Next Season. Chapter 1 begins. After years of questions regarding the Rockies' ability to acquire and maintain pitchers, it finally feels like we are starting to see some light coming out of the pen. Although it is way too early to formally nickname a bullpen that has done absolutely nothing of note yet, it's worth highlighting the name that Rockies TV analyst Ryan Spilborghs jokingly gave the young pen during a broadcast in late September, the gas station. The gas station references the most promising feature of this Rockies young bullpen, the fastball. So the breakdown of that is the Rockies, and one of the reasons why I put that as one of my number one reasons Rockies fans can be optimistic for this upcoming season, Rockies relievers have a huge potential for upside. They've averaged 98.2 miles per hour on their fastball in the month of August. That was second ranked in all of Major League Baseball. They've got a couple guys, closer-reliever combo, Seth Halverson, Victor Vodnik, that can consistently throw 100-plus miles an hour. But beyond just their ability to throw the fastball, they also can get outs, or at least they showed it in the last month. In the first 13 innings pitched at the big league level, Luis Peralta did not allow a run. That was the longest scoreless streak to begin a career by any Rockies reliever in franchise history, and also entering the final road season of the series, or of the final road series of the season. The Rockies relievers, Luis Peralta, Seth Halverson, Jaden Hill, Criswell, and Shiviji, all age 24 or younger, combined for a 2.62 ERA with 66 strikeouts against some of the best teams in baseball. So, if you want to learn more about why I think there are reasons to be optimistic for next season, I actually do think there are some reasons Rockies fans can be optimistic about next year. I know we're getting into all the postseason stuff, the World Series stuff, but I wanted to finish on that note because there are some good things the Rockies have done last year that could carry into next year. So go check that out. Go to thednvr.com and you can find that article under 4 reasons Rockies fans can be optimistic about next year. That's going to do it for our podcast today. What a show. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Shout out to our awesome producers here holding down the fort. We're going to be back tomorrow, or I will be back tomorrow with TDSP at 11:15. Going to be sitting down with Eric Lacroix with a nice little conversation about his time playing for his dad as the GM. So that'll be a good show if you're interested in that. If not, we'll come back and talk Rockies on Wednesday at 12:15, same time. As always, shout out to our awesome team. Shout out to you guys, the fans. Give us a like on your way out if you can, or subscribe on YouTube. And yeah, we'll see you guys on Wednesday. Have a good one, everyone.
We all silly like the mayor.